Yo, it's your bro, Yo Elliott here, and clearly I'm in a very different environment. I don't have my boring blackboard behind me at home. In fact, I'm in a beautiful resort here in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm actually sitting in the penthouse and I'm overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. And I was able to see the sunrise come up over the Atlantic this morning. What a beautiful sight. Me being here is actually an accident. It's a strange story how I ended up here doing work and making videos this week. And I'll share a little bit about that with you in a moment because it's pretty odd. But before I do that, I want to share with you what you're going to learn by watching this video. So clearly this is a bit of a different format from my other videos, something I'm trying out, something new, and I think you'll appreciate it. So if you stick around for this video, some of the things I'm going to be speaking about related to fitness has to do with a brand new goal that I have for myself. I'm going to be 40 years old in April, so I've got a little less than a year before I'm going to be at the age that my uncle was. Those of you who've been following me long enough know that I was highly inspired by my uncle to get into fitness when I was 14 years old. He was 40 years old when he went into his first bodybuilding contest and was in his most aesthetic shape. I remember being in high school watching him prepare for that bodybuilding show and then going and supporting him there, and he won like every category. And so that's my uncle, that's my inspiration. And I got an opportunity to speak with him a couple weeks ago and he said, "Hey Elliot, you're gonna be 40 pretty soon. What are your goals for the next half of your life?" You know, and that's not even gonna be half for me because I plan on living to 100, baby. That's one goal I haven't spoken to you about. But the fitness goal I'm talking about is being in my most aesthetic shape ever by my 40th birthday, just like my uncle was. And those of you who've been following me for this channel, you've seen me transform in a myriad of different ways, particularly through my body. When you started watching this channel, when I started it back in 2007, it was Plumped Pro Strongman Elliott. You know, that was the phase in which I was my biggest, my thickest, my strongest. That was when I experimented with a cycle of steroids. Those of you guys who've been curious about that story, yeah, it was during my strongman days, 2009, when I was competing and became a professional strongman and was winning and was crushing it and was really happy with who I was and where I was going. I was building a family, and then pop, I tore my left bicep, and that was the end of my strongman career. I made a conscious decision at that point. It was the end of my experimentation with steroids that only lasted, about 3 months. And at that moment, I realized that I need to be reborn in a different form and become something else. And that's when Yo Elliott was formed. And the popularity of this channel grew around 2013, 2014, because I made a conscious, deliberate effort to not be Strongman Elliott anymore and to deliver different gifts to the world that I knew that I had within me besides flipping tires and lifting stones. And that's when I really amped up my efforts in providing value to you through these videos. And also I started creating products, writing books and things of that nature. And as an effort to propel myself in the internet sphere, I took my body from about 240 pounds at my heaviest down to about 193 pounds at my lightest, when I was really in an amateur way just trying to cut up, to shred up, and to get more aesthetically pleasing. And I lost a lot of weight. I got pretty skinny. If you look at some of my old videos there, I still carry a pretty good amount of muscle. It's kind of a genetic gift for me. But I think I could have done it better. I wasn't as lean as I possibly could have been back then, even though I looked great. And I didn't have as much muscle or the shape and separation that I want now. And that's really what it's all about. So I'm going into the first very serious bodybuilding mode in my life. I've never done that before. I've never really counted macros to any great degree. I never really measured my body parts like my bicep and my pecs and things of that nature. Never really put that much attention on the aesthetics of my body. It's always been about performance. I played high school football. That's how my uncle got into my life in terms of weightlifting. And I was an athlete, and I then found strongman. So I was able to take all of my brute mentality and physical prowess from football, and almost, I graduated college, and maybe about 5 years later, over the course of a few years, transformed my life, moved down to Florida, and met Tom Mitchell, who was my first strongman coach. And the very first time I picked up a keg, that was the very first thing we did, I was in love. I knew that it was something that I wanted to do for a very long time. Lifting odd objects is brutal. And I am a self-diagnosed masochist. I like pain. I've always seen great results from struggle and challenge, and I'm physically astute. Like I said, I was born with I have great genetics. My mom's strong, my dad's strong. They're both mentally and emotionally strong. So when it came to sports, strong man just made sense, and I loved it. Well, football, strongman, and then I dabbled with powerlifting, never really competed though, but really went to build up my lifts. My strongest deadlift was 700 pounds plus. Because I wasn't never official, it was just basically me lifting in my dusty warehouse garage gym in St. Petersburg, Florida. And that was back when the camera wasn't always rolling. So, but as a strongman, you can see some of the videos that I've done there where I'm lifting massive amounts of weight. Well, since 2014, those of you who've been following this channel, following me, have seen it go down in a myriad of different ways. The channel went down because I began going down. And my going down process, what I mean by that is, I look at life and everything in terms of cycles and evolution. And I don't discount any season or any way of being that either comes upon us or we ask for and look for. And in a way, I kind of did a little bit of the both, being a self-proclaimed masochist, knowing that challenge equals growth. I subject myself, I try out different things, and I suffer and I grow. And so the downward spiral of me began with physical injuries. I also made some decisions about the YouTube channel that was highly successful in 2014 when I decided to take a step back. I decided that I wanted to start doing yoga. That was a challenge that didn't allow me to really, I'm not a yoga expert, so I wasn't making videos about yoga. I also chose to quit Strength Camp Gym, which is my business, quit being there because as I became a famous YouTube celebrity, and make no question about it, I'm slightly famous, wherever I go, particularly in the fitness industry, people know me. As I became slightly famous, the burden of the gym, I just couldn't handle it. I have a family, and the gym was a part of the business. I was making YouTube videos, I was publishing, I was keeping up with my own training, and the gym was one of these things where I was ready to let it go. Strength Camp Gym, I was ready to let it go because I had no intention of being a coach, a fitness coach, and a gym owner any longer. I realized that the gift that I have and what the world is asking of me in those moments was to mentor to men, but not just to their bodies, but to every aspect of what makes us men, dudes. And so a big part of what makes men men, and I've learned this the hard way, through experience, through challenge, right? Which is where all great knowledge comes from. revolves around the resolution of a lot of grief. And it's amazing to see the men's movement and the way men are evolving today. And I am proud to say that I know that I'm a big spark of that movement. I'm a big part of the reason why young men are waking up to the various aspects of what makes us powerful today, because my Yo Elliott videos and the videos that I chose to make on a separate channel called my Elliott Host channel really related to lifestyle as a whole for men. You know, I answered questions about heartbreak and relationships. I answered questions about business and entrepreneurship. I really, you know, back in the early days of YouTube, meaning, you know, 2007 and 2014, that first cycle of YouTube, I was out there just pumping as much content as possible. And it's interesting and it's fun to see now that I'm doing a little bit more research on men's lifestyle. MGTOW is one of the things I'll be talking about later in this video. And masculinity, that I see a lot of YouTube videos where the author, the creator, took clips from old Elliott Host videos, Yo Elliott videos, and blend them into the education that they're providing. And man, that really, when I saw that this week as I was doing some research for the things I want to talk about here, it really affirms that I made the right decision to step back from being strongman Elliott, being Yo Elliott in the fitness sense, and letting go of Strength Camp Gym. And letting go of Strength Camp Gym was a big part of the downward spiral, because without a gym, I didn't have a recording studio any longer. I didn't have a place where I was recording. The gym then became an actual gym in my city, and I stepped away and I brought on Chris Barnard, who was one of my clients at the time. Or he started out as one of my clients, and then he progressively started doing more work for me. I said, Chris, you know, Strength Camp's only going to live if I have some help, because I'm off to do other things. God is calling me to do other things, to be other things, and I need your support. So Chris took it. It really, you know, a big portion of the work to get Strength Camp up and running was executed by my partner Chris Barnard, while I could take that downward spiral that I was talking about, or what I refer to as the tunnel. And these past 4 years, from 2014 to 2018, where you haven't seen so much of me, bits and spurts here and there, you got to understand that I was healing. And I say that in terms of mind, body, and soul healing. And when I speak about the soul and I speak about the metaphysical aspects of human beings, I'm not speaking about it as a separate thing from our physical experience. I often say that the body is the mind. And as a man seeking to heal his wounds, confront my darkness or shadows, as you would call it, I got the physical experience, the deeply physical experience. I'm not just talking about depression, I'm talking about physical injuries. I had a hernia in 2014 that needed to be repaired, and having the hernia was something that I had since I was a child, but having it at that moment and knowing that my body's starting to fall apart, my body's starting to age, I'm going to need to take different steps to care for my body in the future. And if I'm going to live to 100, I can't keep being a pro strongman. You see what I'm saying? If I'm going to live to 100, I can't keep beating the fuck out of myself in the gym. It's just not practical. It doesn't make fucking sense. It's idiotic. Now, being a meathead, like I am at nature, I'm just a go get 'em kind of guy. I wanted to put my head through walls. It was a very difficult ego deconstruction. It was a very difficult going down process to say that I'm not going to be that big brutal beast with the muscles bulging all over the place any longer. I'm gonna try yoga. Well, anyway, as my body was speaking to me and asking me to take these various steps down physically, I repaired the hernia that seemed to be getting a little bit worse as I was getting older. And then a series of acute injuries began to show up in my life. And as I've been healing my neck, you know, that was really the first one that caused me to stop talking. Fifth chakra, you know, communication, this whole area. When the jaw, neck, shoulder expressive capacity begins to diminish and close in because of physical injury, your ability my ability to create and to communicate became stifled or introverted, turned in. I wasn't as extroverted. You know, so it was an opportunity for me to shut up, right? Shut up a little bit, go in a little bit, and maybe communicate with myself, maybe communicate with God, maybe communicate with my family and the people who were closest to me, rather than constantly ejaculating my energy all over the screen with YouTube and stuff. Then I attempted to come back a few different times. You know, I always continued to lift. And in 2015, you know, a year later, I tore my right bicep, and this is an injury that has scarred me for life. For a man that walks around with a beautiful body, for a man who relates to the strength of his body, to the physical fitness of his body, who is a football player, who's a strong man. You know, those of you guys out there who are bodybuilders and powerlifters, you know yourself, you know your achievement, you know your commitment, you know your discipline, you know your courage through iron. That's why I commemorate it by having this iron around my neck to this day. Iron, that's how I was born. I was born and bred and raised and strained and trained through iron. And I love iron. I love iron. I love iron. But for those of us who love iron to that degree, to step away from it and then have irreparable aesthetic damage made to the body, it's quite a shock to the ego. You know, when I talk about this going down process, I'm really, and I say going down. I've made videos. You can watch me on my YouTube channel where it's called Catabasis. Catabasis is about going down. It's about introversion. It's about shadow work. It's about paying attention to the context of things rather than the content of things. And if you watch that video series, I did one with Wim Hof, you'll know what I'm talking about. So yeah, the bicep tear was quite a shock, and I stopped lifting altogether. I was just ashamed of my body. I was ashamed of what is now a different looking type of arm. I've gotten over it now. Look at this one. This one's beautiful. My left arm. Who would have known left arm would be so beautiful? Right arm, it's coming back because I'm coming back, because I'm rising, and that's what this video is all about, is a lot about. So now that I can put down the barbell, I can put down the stones, I can put down smashing my head, and I can allow myself to mature into muscle development, muscle building. I'm doing things a lot differently. And you're gonna wanna stick around for my new series, Final Form by 40, I think I'll call it. You'll know when it comes out. But I'm starting, well, over the past few months, I've already started getting the ball rolling and experimenting with new ways of doing things. And I'll tell you this, a big part of my Final Form or Ultimate Form by 40 that you're gonna wanna follow along my journey with is I'm lifting lots of reps, like 15, 20 reps, like 300 reps per body part. Now, this is just a massive shift of perspective for somebody like me. You know, I don't think I could have done it had my ego not gone through these deaths and reconstructions over the past few years, but I'm ready for it. Another injury I sustained, I don't talk much about it because it's not as physically obvious, and I had already been pretty much silent at this point, was I tore my Achilles tendon at the end of 2016. So if you were wondering where I was in 2017, that was all about me just healing once again. One of my teachers uses a different term than healing, though. She says holing, and I like that term a lot better, because healing means that there's something wrong. And I never believed that anything is wrong. You know, even when I tore my Achilles tendon in that moment, when I tore my first bicep in that moment, I said, oh, I know what this is about. I'm not living in a whole way, in a holistic way. I was abusing the shit out of my body. I was eating whatever the fuck I wanted to, and using anabolics, and generally just not living a holistic lifestyle. So the injury was an opportunity to whole myself, and that's why I was able to come back after that injury in such a magnanimous way with Yo Elliott videos. All my creative energy that was going into strongman, I was able to pull back out and refocus on, you know, this type of creativity. End of 2017, I was in Amsterdam doing one of my new, at the time was grounding camps in Europe, and during the event, it just seemed like out of the blue, I tore my Achilles tendon, my right Achilles tendon. And so you could just imagine another setback, and it's been over a year now. We're in 2018, so it's going on a year and a half now since that last major injury. And so I have been building myself back up. And like I said, I've been doing it with light weights. Doesn't mean that I won't be lifting in the heavier rep range realm. I will be, but things will be done in a much more methodical, thoughtful, and conscious way. I like to say conscious bodybuilding. So those of you guys who are here for this channel, those of you guys who came here for fitness, if you're watching right now, if you're looking for more information on bodybuilding in particular, aesthetics is really what it's about. Hey, Yo Elliott, your old friend from strongman, powerlifting, and life mastery advice is getting into bodybuilding. I will not be stepping on stage though. I'm not interested in I'm just not interested in that. I'm not interested in the prep. I'm not interested in being judged. I've got all kinds of imbalances that, like, this ain't going away. And I've won enough trophies. Like I said, I'm gonna be 40, and my 20s and 30s were not wasted at all. You know, a lot of these guys, they say they have midlife crises. Guys who have midlife crises, they end up having regrets and remorse about what they didn't do in their 30s and 20s. Me, I don't have any of that. I'm glad about every single aspect of my life through my 20s and 30s. There's nothing that I go back and want to do. I won all the trophies. I broke all the records. I started my family. I started my businesses. I became YouTube famous. All these things that when you make certain choices that don't come from your heart, when you're in those really important developmental years, those warrior years, you get to 40, you get to my age, you know, I'm not even at middle age yet, it's gonna be 50, so, you know, I got the next 10, I'm preparing for the next 10 years, it'll get me to my middle. You start, if you're listening and you're paying attention and you're willing enough, you get to a particular point where you start to ask yourself, what should I have done, or what will I do differently? What I get to do, and what my hope for all of you that get to my age, you know, I know that I'm a bit older than most of you that watch this, is you get to have a rebirth. You get to have a new lease on life, meaning I get to make new goals. I get to make born out of wisdom, born out of maturity, born out of the new phases and stages. It's almost like building empires on top of empires, right? There's a Yo Elliott empire for you. You know, it was that I'm watching and listening to a lot of the MGTOW guys. You know, that's something I'll talk about in a moment in this video. A lot of things I want to talk about in this video. But Rollo Tomasi, I think is his name, speaks about how in his 20s, he was a rock star. You know, he went out there and he was literally like in music, I believe. And he was in a band, and he was meeting women, and he was doing the things that he used to do. So that now that he's in this latter stage of his life, there's no regret, there's no remorse. Not only that, but there's also the experience associated with doing those things that he's done. And now, as an older man, he can give advice to young dudes. That's what this is all about, becoming the strongest version of yourself and empowering one another. Do your thing hard, go hardcore, balls to the wall when you're young, so that when you get to be a bit more mature, you get to be reaching towards eldership, right? Because the more experiences you have, the wiser you become. And as you move through those stages, life is stages. Life goes like this, bro. Which cycle are you on? Boom. You get to look back and you see young men and you say, hey, I've been there, I've done that, I know exactly what you're going through. If you're willing, if you're interested, if you have an open ear, let me lend some advice. Rollo Tomasi does this really good with MGTOW. I hope to provide that. I know I provided that when I was making all those Yo Elliott videos back in, a couple of years ago. All the 14-year-old kids at that time, 15, 16, 17-year-old kids at that time were watching those videos where I was delivering ideas that I wish I had when I was 14, 15, 16 years old. Now that I'm 40 and a lot of you guys are 24, it's amazing how many young men at 24 are in my life. I just had a live event that I did called Grounding Man. It's a camp that I hold twice a year. And good majority of men are 24 years old. So some of the other things that I want to talk to you about in this video, I said MGTOW, NOFAP is, I've been getting questions about NOFAP and MGTOW. As I'm making my way back, you guys have been following me for the past few months as I've been experimenting with coming back to YouTube. I've made a couple teaching videos, I didn't stick with them because I didn't feel right. I started making Yo Elliott videos again, and I've enjoyed making those Yo Elliott videos. I love being animated. I love getting your questions. I love delivering in that powerful, poetic way. Wisdom for warriors. It's just fun for me to do. But I think there's more that can be done. And so I'm thinking of different formats. Maybe the Yo Elliott show like this. Maybe this can be a podcast. Maybe this can be where you send your questions ahead of time and I answer it in this long form format. Those of you guys watching on YouTube, maybe it's maybe you'll just want to listen. I like Stefan Molyneux, and I watched one of his videos the other day, and he mentioned how, look, just if you want to listen to the video, it's like a podcast. If you want to watch it, it's like a YouTube video, whatever you want to do. So these are just different ideas that are coming up, which means that in this video, I'm also going to be talking about the future of Yo as I make my rebirth, as I make my return physically, mentally, emotionally, as well as my delivery of creativity to the world. There are a lot of brand new things going on, right? And I'll talk to you a little bit about that in this video also too. Good. So we already spoke about my ultimate form by 40. And the series that will be following this will include what kind of workouts I'm doing, why I'm doing those workouts, macro and micro cycles, meaning what I'm doing for the month. Each month there's a shift. What I'm doing every 12 weeks, because there's 3 pods, microcycles within a macro cycle of 12 weeks, and 12 weeks is a really good amount of time to get some solid bodybuilding work done for different reasons. And so for the first 3 months, it's going to be about bulking and not big belly bulking. It's going to be about just building up as much muscle as I can put on this frame naturally without increasing my waist. So 35-inch waist is where I'm at right now. And And I hope to keep it there while I take advantage of my ability to build up as much muscle as possible. Some of my weak points that I'm looking to build up include my back. I want to build up my upper back. I think it's probably one of those places that have been lacked on me for a very long time because I tend to have really strong arms and a low back. Strongman was a lot of low back and arms, grip. If you got good grip and you got good low back, you can do whatever the fuck you want with strongman, but that upper back that only comes from repetitions of rows like bodybuilders do. I like that hammer machine rower that goes this way, the one that goes this way. I'm going to be experimenting with lots of different machines and exercises to just build the thickness in my back. Also my arms, like I mentioned, I've never really focused too much on arms. You know, I never really had an arm day. I will, somewhere during this season of strength, I'm going to be building up my arms with some arm days. My calves have always been like icing on the cake for me. You know, my calves have always just been big and shapely and beautiful. Just again, genetics. I never really did a lot of calf raises. Squats and deadlifts just made my calves bubble up. But now, since I tore my right Achilles tendon, my right calf is a lot smaller, and my left calf has taken on a myriad of muscular imbalances because it has been compensating. My whole left side has been compensating for the lack of strength and the limp on my right leg all those months. So yeah, I know you'll be excited about that. The next thing I want to talk about is MGTOW, and again, I plan on making more in-depth videos on all of the topics that I'm speaking about right now, but really in a lot of ways, this is just a brain dump. This is a way for me to open up to you, to share with you, and to also get some feedback from you about what you'd like to see, what you're excited about, so on and so forth. So MGTOW is an interesting thing. So I came across it merely because I was receiving questions from some of you guys about what you want to hear me make Yo Elliott videos on, and a young man asked me about MGTOW and NOFAP, but I haven't addressed NOFAP yet. I will in a moment. And I watched a few videos. I didn't look too far. I read a few forums, there was some stuff on Reddit, but just the term itself, men going their own way, excited me because I saw the value in it. I saw that it was happening. I saw that it was real. I saw that it was needed. And so I went out and I just blurted out that video that now has over 100,000, maybe 120,000 views. I had a feeling it would because I realized that MGTOW is one way to describe a lot of what I've been speaking about in my videos for a very long time. It's not new to my audience. You're mostly men, and men going their own way begins with personal development. Really, knowing your value and developing it. So what I want to do in this video, just to keep it sort of short, and I'm touching a few different things, with regard to MGTOW, I made that video and then I did Grounding Man. The following week, I went and I was with over 150 young men delivering powerful ideas, a powerful weekend that was all about becoming the strongest version of ourselves as men. We not only spoke about it, because I love speaking and I know that there is great value for content to be provided, but the context of the entire weekend was very physical. Those of you who've been following me long enough, you know that I ascribe to and teach bioenergetics. This is all about using the body to not only achieve higher states of energy, but to break free from the very clear blockages that many of us have, all of us have really, in our body, the flesh. We are stifled not because of our mind, the body is the mind. We're stifled because we can't express through certain parts of our body. The body is expression. The body is the tool by which we express. When you see me talking and emoting and using my body like this when I'm speaking, I'm being very bioenergetic. And if we wanted to be successful in our life in any realm, you're going to want to increase your bioenergetic availability, right? And that requires movement, exercise, stretching. Getting uncomfortable is really the key. That's what makes it That's what really makes it bioenergetic, is that you got to confront the mental baggage that keeps us from expressing ourselves in a myriad of different ways, whether it's picking up girls, right? If you're wanting to have the courage to go out there and pick up girls, if you're wanting the courage to go out there and start your own business or ask your boss for a job, or merely just to be an extroverted person. So many of us take on this idea that we are introverts, but it's because you haven't practiced extroversion. And bioenergetically, you become stifled. So we could talk about the benefits of socializing and meeting people and being extroverted and, all those things that those who don't have this naturally want. But all the talk and all the reading in the world is of zero value if we don't do it, because bioenergetics is about energy. So, that's what we did at Grounding Man. And while I was there, I got a phone call from very good old friend Sean Hopper. And those of you who have been following me long enough, you may have seen him in some of the videos where he came and he plays the guitar. He's been at Open Gym numerous times, and he's been a great friend. I go and watch him perform. Colleen and I go quite often. And he hit me up after I made the MGTOW video. I know he had been having some challenges with his ex-girlfriend and things of that nature. But when he called me and he heard that I made that MGTOW video and he watched the video, he said, "Oh my God, Elliott, you gotta get into this. This is great. It's changed my life. I was having all these problems with all these women." I mean, just think about it. The guy plays guitar and he's a beautiful guitar player. He's a good looking dude and he does a wonderful job. Everywhere he goes, women want him. And so that becomes something you got to figure out how to manage, right? Those of you guys who are into pickup, you're trying your best to figure out how to get women so that you can deal with them. He got all these women, so he had to figure out how to deal with them. Same thing with Rollo Tomasi. And Sean calls me up, says, "Elliott, I'm really excited about this. You got to dig deeper." And so he gave me some resources. He said, read The Rational Male by Rollo Tomasi. I keep saying his name in this video, although I've never met him. I also got an opportunity to watch some of his videos on another MGTOW channel, which is Entrepreneurs in Cars. I can't remember the gentleman's name, but I like him. I like what he talks about. I like his demeanor. I like the conversations that he holds with other MGTOWs, including Rollo Tomasi. So you can kind of look these guys up, look up The Rational Male, look up Entrepreneurs in Cars. And look, there are, as with everything, just think about it, religion and politics. As with everything that gets consolidated into an ideal, like a name with certain codes, MGTOW has its humanness, right? Everything will have its humanness, will have its error, will have its shadow. So when I look at religion, I look at philosophies, I look at politics, I look at movements like MGTOW, I don't look at the physical expression of them to any great degree or hold them prison to the physical expression of what it is, because I know it's going to be broken. I know it's going to be fallen. I look at the essence. I look at the words behind the words, the meaning behind the words. And men going their own way is just a great fucking idea. And I got lots and lots to say about it, particularly as a married man. So without going any further down the MGTOW route, I was also introduced to something that's very much related to MGTOW, and that is this NOFAP idea. And so again, I had to plead ignorant. I had to stop myself from trying to answer something I know nothing about. Sure, I could talk about it, but look, I haven't not ejaculated for 24 years. I mean, every week, 3-4 times a week, I'm ejaculating. And it's not because I'm fapping, it's because I'm married. And so it really got me thinking about myself and my sexuality and MGTOW and seminal retention and not busting nuts, not having sex, and all of the benefits that are associated with sexual transmutation is something that has not been new to me. It's something that I've read a lot about, but I never made a discipline of it. I never really practiced it. My life in my 20s and 30s, because I was married, I was able to transmutate my sexuality because I didn't have to focus on how to get women. You know, that has been amongst the many one big blessing of being married so early for me. Like, women just were no longer an issue. Women are a lot of fucking energy, right? And so dating and staying up late and, you know, thinking and wondering, the emotional, the mental, the physical strain on draining, or what could be possible there. Even just the sheer amount of people that you end up having all kinds of intimacy with, to me, I don't know, it's kind of draining, and or could be draining. And because I didn't have to do that, because I could just focus straight on my business. And focusing on my business was like focusing on my family, because I wanted to provide for my family, so I focused on me. I knew that from very early on. Those of you guys who are married and the marriage doesn't work out, one of the biggest problems is you stop focusing on yourself. I always focused on myself. It was always me first. Even as a kid, I think it's a part of my nature. My parents and people would say, "Elliot, you're so damn selfish." Yeah, selfish means I don't give a fuck about anybody else. Self-centered means that I'm the center of my world. And I invite everyone here to be self-centered, because you are the center of your world. You're the point by which all perspective comes and goes. The world is a mere reflection of your own consciousness. Marriage has worked for me, MGTOWs, because I kind of was able to go into monk mode. I wasn't distracted out there. I have a woman that doesn't disrespect or harass me or manipulate me to any tragic degree like, you know, some men are experiencing. So it's been helpful. But one thing that I've lost, one thing that I've given away, one thing that I've sacrificed, and I continue to sacrifice, and I didn't realize I was sacrificing, is my sexual essence. And as I'm moving into my final form at 40, as I'm redeveloping myself and recommitting to what I know I can provide and what I want to be creative about in this world, I can benefit from some sexual transmutation. So how I plan on doing that, and how I plan on experimenting, and how I plan on being a experienced voice for young men who are going their own way and taking back our sexuality, because that's really the first and primary part of this, is taking back our sexuality. I'm gonna do a fast, a sex fast, and that's what we plan on doing. So other things that are coming up, as well as the story of why I'm here, right? I never got to that. How did I end up in this beautiful resort in Florida? Well, I've been traveling for the past few weeks, and I planned on this week being the last week of June. I've been traveling all month, you know, the very first part of the month. My kids got out of school, and so we did a staycation. Then after that, I was in New York doing Grounding Man, so I was, you know, sleeping on cots in upstate New York. Then we went to New York City, and I was sleeping in an Airbnb apartment out there. And boy, you know, the things you hear from an apartment in New York City was kept me up at night. And then I was supposed to come here and do a bioenergetics be a part of. Be a student in a bioenergetics workshop that actually got canceled, and I wasn't aware of it. So when I got here, rather than it just being the place where I sleep so I can go back and forth, I get to hang out here. And the hotel, when I first got here, they first recognized me, and one of the guys behind the counter recognized me, and so they set something up where I can, you know, take advantage of the beautiful place. They gave me some places where I can make some videos, and that was really about it. So yeah, that's how I ended up here, and I think this is good. This is a great way to kick off this new format of, or experimental format of communicating with you, because it's a different backdrop. And at home, I'm creating a studio. I really would like to do more of this long form speaking with you. So I'm setting up a sound studio. I would be inviting guests. I want to answer your questions in this long form format, right? Because I love doing this. And the Yo Elliott videos, although they're cool, and it's all an experiment. I don't know what I'm actually going to do, but if I decide to stay with this format, I might just cut these and put them up on YouTube as segments of the long form Q&A for people to find when they're searching YouTube, or people who don't want to speak for this long or listen for this long to take in. So, a lot of new things. Training vlog, podcast, Yo Elliott tour. I've already signed up at various locations. One of the first locations is going to be in London. It's one of the biggest cities that follows me on Instagram. I'm going to be out there in London, y'all. London, give me a high five. Last time I was out in London, there were 500 of you badasses shouting, doing dynamic meditation, waking up the Queen on Sunday morning. It was fantastic. It was one of the most exciting events of my life. First time in Europe, first time doing Yo Elliott event, and after that, I stopped doing them. You know, I went to Europe, I went to London, I went to Amsterdam, I went to Sweden, Stockholm, and I went to Berlin. And when I got back, that's really when I started to go into the tunnel mode. And now that I'm on my way back out, I want to come to Europe again, and I want to come to all the biggest cities in the US. I am coming to the biggest cities in the US doing Yo Elliott Live. What Yo Elliott Live is all about, and like I said, I'll talk more about all these things in other videos. Even though this video is already pretty long, I don't care. If you're here, it's because you care, and you know that I'm coming to your city to speak with you about your warriorhood, your kingship, your path of becoming the strongest version of yourself. And it's not one of these shows where, one of these events where I'm coming to speak, I'm coming to discuss. And so the same way that people send in questions to Yo Elliott and I answer those questions and provide that wisdomful warrior in the most entertaining, fascinating, prolific, poetic way that I possibly can, I'm going to be doing it live for you there. So if you are in London, that one is definitely on the stamp. That stamp is on the map. But Chicago, keep an ear out. New York, keep an ear out. LA, keep an ear out. Texas, keep an ear out. Those are some of the places I'm looking at right now. Toronto, keep an ear out. I'm coming. Yo is coming. Wisdom for Warriors Tour is coming to your city, and you ought to be prepared for what you want to receive. What is your question? What kind of breakthrough are you looking for? Where are you stuck? Part of the way the format is going to roll is you show up with your questions. I can't promise that I'll answer everyone's questions, but if you're there taking notes, there's a good chance that your question's being answered in someone else's. But you raise your hand, I let the spirit move me, you get called to the front, and you ask your question, and Yo Elliott delivers. Damn, it's going to be great. Can't wait. So, that'll be just another way for you to receive the wisdom. I realize that a lot of times I'm not even thinking while I'm speaking, and I'm just channeling. I watch my videos sometimes and I'm like, damn, where did that come from? And so I can't wait to get into that mode, to get into that space, and to allow the delivery to come through me to you, so you can bring that wisdom into your life, regardless of whatever it is. Fitness, relationships, business, life mastery. Yo has your answer, and I'll be there with you. So live tour, podcast, or different YouTube format right here, but you can still answer, you can still send me questions through YouTube, through the YouTube community, through Instagram. You know, send me questions. I go scouring for questions. I'll probably answer a few questions after this video here. And then finally, I'm opening myself up to be available for the very first time in a very long time to coaching. So up until right now, you can hire me for a coaching lunch. It's the only way you can really get coaching from Elliott. I don't offer coaching programs. I don't offer consultations. I don't offer any of these things because I know what's required of them. And if I do them, I want to do them right. You know, I've been a coach my entire life. I know what's up. So I'm going to be continuing with my Yo Elliott lunch. You can still come down to St. Petersburg and meet me at my favorite restaurant, like hundreds of other people who have done it in the past, and we have lunch and we discuss what it is that's weighing heavily on you in that time, and you know we get to do that. But not everyone can afford the price tag. It's $1,000. And not everyone can afford to travel. I've had guys do this where they travel. I'm coming from Australia, Elliott, for an $1,000 lunch with you. And that's why I just leave it there. I just do it because there are those, and I'll get a few a month that will still do that. And so because it's low, it doesn't take as much energy from me. It's non-committal, and it's actually fucking fun. So we get to have that. But not everybody can do that. So what I'm going to be doing is coaching by the minute. So you get to have me live, but be charged by the minute. So if you got a question that Yo Elliott would answer within 10 minutes, you just buy 10 minutes of my time. Send me your question, send me a video with your question so we don't have to waste too much time listening to you, right? You don't want to pay to hear yourself talk, but so that I can start to deliver and impart perhaps what could be life-changing wisdom and support to you as your big brother, elder, mature version of yourself, Yo Elliott. I've got a lot of experiences, I got a lot of wisdom, and I love to deliver. So those are those things, man. So man, that was like all over the place. These are some of the things that I wanted to share with you guys. New videos are coming very soon. Grounding Man was fucking incredible. And it really, that weekend really solidified my path in life and what I'm here to do. You know, there's so many different projects that I'm working on. Strength Camp is one of them. Once again, participate by watching and following along as I go on my fitness journey. And if you want to be a coach like I am, you want to own your own gym like I do, then Strength Camp may be a great option for you if you qualify. We have about 20 Strength Camp locations worldwide that are run by ambassadors. These are men, young men who own their own Strength Camp gyms, but receive the support from Strength Camp headquarters, myself, Chris Barnard, and our team over there, which includes branding. You know, you get to use the Strength Camp brand. We do a lot of promotion. You know, I'll be in London, so I'm going to be checking out and doing a grand opening for one of our strength camps out there, Strength Camp Chester. And also the most important part is you get to leverage our business and marketing systems so that you don't have to do it from scratch. You don't have to figure it out on your own. You don't have to make all the mistakes that I made or have, that learning curve that many of us have to go through without just having the support of me and my staff there to show you what to do from signing your lease to signing your 100th member. And that's all really cool stuff. So that's it, y'all. I'm here, I'm back, I'm excited. Thank you for sticking around to the end of this video. I'm not exactly even sure how long it went. I just decided I'm just gonna flow. Thank you for flowing with me. Done.